Record-breaking heat is possible across much of the four-state region as we head into this weekend. Thankfully, it'll be short-lived as we've got relief from that heat on the way early next week. Last but not least, will the above-average temperatures continue? Do we maybe have some more rain on the way? We'll take a look at the extended outlooks coming up in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm First Alert meteorologist Jake Lambright, and of course, we've got a lot to talk about whenever it comes to our forecast here in the coming days. So let's go ahead and get started with a look at our temperature trend here across the ArkLaTex. You'll notice as we head into Thursday, high temperatures returning to the low 80s. We're in the upper 80s on Friday, and possibly as warm as the low 90s as we head into this weekend. You can already see where that cold front starts to move through early next week as temperatures start to drop a little bit. Let's talk temperatures, though, across the ArkLaTex region. This is Friday afternoon, where many of us will be topping out in the mid and upper 80s. We could potentially tie record highs across parts of the area with how warm these temperatures will be. Now, Saturday and Sunday, it gets even warmer than that. You'll notice Saturday afternoon, we're looking at highs in the upper 80s and low 90s across much of the area. That, again, could potentially break records for some of us across the ArkLaTex. Let me make that full screen for you so you can see a little bit better. We have more of that same weather on the way as we head into Sunday. Again, high temperatures returning back to the upper 80s and lower 90s. Now, off just to our west, think areas like Dallas, Oklahoma City. They have highs around 96 to 97 degrees on Saturday and Sunday, getting close to triple digits. And to think it's the second and third day of spring starting officially Friday morning, by the way, that is crazy, unheard of. We be breaking records that have been in place for a very long time. Our Friday record in Shreveport, we'll talk more on this here in just a second, was set back in 2017, but the other ones have been in place for a very long time. In fact, here's a look at some of those records. Again, looking at a high currently forecast around 88 on Friday. If we hit that, that would tie our record of 88 set back in 2017. From there, on Saturday, if we hit 90 degrees, that would break our record of 89 set back in 1916, and hitting 90 on Sunday would break a record or tie record set back in 1995. So again, I mean, I know we're hot here in the state of Louisiana across the ArkLaTex much of the time, but this hot this early on, almost unheard of. I really don't remember it getting this warm this fast as long as I remember, and I'm born and raised here in the ArkLaTex. So here's a look at our next cold front that'll be arriving Monday, Tuesday. This is going to be our relief from that tie and record-breaking heat that we'll see over the weekend. Now, this will take our temperatures from the upper 80s and low 90s back down to the low 80s, maybe eventually the mid 80s. It also brings our overnight lows back to the upper 50s and low 60s across much of the ArkLaTex. So early next week, I've got a high of around 85 in the forecast for Monday, low 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you'll notice Monday night and Tuesday night, overnight lows staying in the lower or upper 50s. So not too bad overall. Things looking a lot more manageable as we head into the start of next week. So we talked 7-day forecast, kind of getting into closer to the 10-day forecast, but what do things look like beyond that? Do we finally have rain in the forecast? What do temperatures look like? Let's talk about that. So our temperature outlook from March 25th through the 31st still has temperatures well above the average for this time of the year. Still has a very high confidence in that across the ArkLaTex. Let me make that full screen so you can see it there a little bit better. So the darker the red, that doesn't necessarily mean the hotter that it's going to be. However, it does mean that there's high confidence that even if it's by 1 degree, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 5 degrees, you name it, we will be above our average for this time of the year. And as of today, that average high temperature here in the Shreveport area, as I'm recording this on March 18th, it's around 71 degrees. So all that that's saying there is that there's a good chance we'll be above 71, 72 degrees as we head through that March 25th through the 31st time frame. Whenever it comes to seeing any rainfall in that same amount of time, we actually have a better chance at being drier than normal for that same time window. There's just not much in the way of rain chances through the end of March. However, things flip in some ways and stay consistent in others when it comes to our extended outlook, starting with the end of March and continuing on through the first third of April. So March 28th through April 10th, still looking at above average temperatures across much of the ArkLaTex and really much of the United States. Let me zoom this out here so you can see really there's only two little tiny patches that could see near or equal chances of slightly above or slightly below average temperatures. One of those areas is out in Washington State. The other area, we'll have to zoom this out to kind of readjust, is out toward Maine. So again, extreme northern parts of the United States might have a chance at being close to average or slightly below, but for the most part, all of the United States expected to see above average temperatures going through that time frame. Now, when we start the month of April, our pattern should be getting a little more active. That means rain chances should start to increase. And there is some confidence, as indicated by that light green shading, that we will see an above average amount of precipitation during that time frame. Similar to temperatures, it doesn't mean that we're going to see 10 inches more than we should of rain. It just means there's some confidence that we see, even if it's by 100th of an inch, an above average amount of precipitation for that time frame. You'll notice that extends throughout much of the southern and central parts of the United States. This kind of whitish shading that you see out toward the East Coast, that's kind of a coin toss between slightly wetter, slightly drier conditions than normal, and then slightly drier conditions can be found out toward southern parts of Oregon, northern California, into Nevada and Utah. So in the ArkLaTex, again, good news in the four-state region, we will see at least there's a decent chance for an above average amount of precipitation during that time frame. All right, let's take a quick look here at your first alert 7-day forecast. And for us, again, no rain expected the next 7 to 10 days. It is going to be dry, dry, dry across the ArkLaTex. You'll notice, again, getting warmer very quickly by Friday, upper 80s, low 90s for the weekend. All 3 of those days could either tie or break high temperature records. From there, that cold front finally returning, bringing us temperatures in the low and mid 80s across the ArkLaTex. Overnight lows, of course, getting warmer each day as well. We'll see morning temperatures in the lower 50s on Thursday morning and eventually upper 50s and low 60s for the rest of that 7-day forecast. Of course, don't forget, you can always find our latest forecast streaming on KSLA.com. Make sure you've got our First Alert weather app installed and that you're following us here on our social media platforms, and subscribe to us, KSLA News 12, over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you right back here on Monday with your next forecast update.